Okay, hey everyone, welcome to this student interview where we've got Caroline Ray, and I'm thrilled that she's actually landed a role at the end of the course. So we're going to talk about her experience with CourseCareers and moving into a designer role at YNAB now, which is really interesting and should be some inspiration for all the students. So Caroline, do you mind giving us a quick background about yourself and letting us know a little bit about you?
Yeah. I am a musician by training, probably pretty creative throughout my whole life and definitely pursued creative endeavors, but it wasn't until like after all my schooling in music, and having to shift into a more technical role during the lockdowns and everything, like my musician career kind of ended, and I was left wondering, do I go back? What's next? And after a couple of years of kind of exploring where I wanted my career to go, I kept being drawn to design. I didn't know exactly what design was, what UX UI was, anything like that, but I started to really get serious about um, kind of tapping into that creative side again, if that makes sense. Just like
Yeah, totally.
kind of working a job. So I've been like a customer support specialist for the past 4 years, um, doing odds and ends here and there. But yeah, I do have a creative background, but in a different field for
So
sure.
why did you want to change? It was just something a bit more you found more interesting, or
Yeah. I mean, I had a pretty good career going in music, and when everything kind of shut down, live music ended, people didn't want me coming into homes to teach lessons, and it kind of was a chance for me to reevaluate, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? And it wasn't. And I was kind of left with, okay, I have to do something.
yeah.
And it took a while. It took a while to even realize like that design is a job. Like I thought it was too good to be true, if that makes sense. Like, oh, you get to like design things and everything. So it took me a while to connect the pieces, but I was always like searching for that creative thread, I think, just because of my background and everything.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. A lot of designers come from artistic backgrounds. So
Mhm.
as you can see, I've got the Beatles on the wall. I'm like a failed musician. But what I'm quite interested in is how did you find CourseCareers, and also how did you decide that like UX was what you wanted to do within the space?
Yeah, so I feel like I had like the perfect kind of environment to discover this. So I've been working at YNAB for the past 5 years on the support team, and it's an app. And that was my first, like when I got into that support role, answering emails, in the chat box, like the world of technology was really new to me. I was playing piano, and then now I'm like, oh, I have to know what like all of this technical stuff is. So it was quite the learning curve, but what it did was introduce me to kind of this like world of design, but from afar, right? From the support side. I didn't know what went on. I didn't know what developers did. I didn't know what designers did, but I was like adjacent to that world for the first time. And it's in the world of finance and budgeting and all of that. And so my YouTube algorithm kind of skews towards that direction. And I'm always like looking for ways to kind of improve my financial well-being. And so it was actually on a different YouTube channel. Just this guy became a part of the CourseCareers affiliate program,
Okay.
and he had just mentioned like one way that you can. His name's Caleb Hammer, and he's like, one way that sometimes it's about budgeting, and sometimes it's about you need to make more money, and CourseCareers is a great way to like elevate your skills to try to get there. And so it was the kind of this perfect timing of like I was introduced to CourseCareers I after being introduced to design. So I kind of knew what it was when I saw it, but maybe we can get there. I was kind of like I had misinterpreted what it was until I
Okay.
found CourseCareers, and then it kind of clicked, and I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, so if that makes sense, I kind of had this idea like, oh, it would be cool instead of just like supporting, not just supporting the app. It was a great job. But I was like, I want to be proactive. I want to like help make the app.
Yeah.
How do I do that? And then the CourseCareers came around. I had reached out to the design director at YNAB just to be like, hey, what would I do? Like, what would you do if you were in my position and wanting to start? And so I had started to explore some things, but kind of got lost in the world of the internet of if you're just starting out looking in design, the way I pictured it was like that sign that points like Spain, 3,000 miles,
Yeah.
Tokyo, 5,000 miles. And it's just like, where do I start? Where do I go? And so I kind of wandered the internet aimlessly for a while and then thankfully came across CourseCareers.
So yeah, it's very interesting. So my next question is, how did you? So obviously you did the free course, and you thought that
Mm-hmm.
might be interesting for you. So
Mm-hmm.
what was your experience like on the course? Because I know you said you had a different idea what it was like, and then change.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
felt like?
So I think when I found the course and when I took the intro course and I decided to like go for it, I really had this narrow mind that design is color choice, typography, just one slice of the pie. And I started to get this inkling of like, there's more to it. I know it. Like I don't know what it is, but I was like searching for like what's the foundation? Like I feel like I need that foundation. And like to be honest, when I got into CourseCareers, like I had dabbled and I'd purchased a couple of other courses in the past, and I just they never clicked. It never really felt like what I needed or wanted. And I did not know what I was getting into with CourseCareers. Like I just thought it was going to be one of those other courses. Like I took a 2-week course and I was like, oh, maybe it's going to be like that. Like maybe it will take me 2 months and then I'll
Yeah.
just, be done and I'll learn a lot. And it took me more than double that, way more than double that. And that's a good thing because I got into it and you just like dove right into like the meat and potatoes of it. I was like, this is what I've been looking for. And so my experience with the course was kind of like go really hard thinking that this was supposed to be like this fast-paced thing and then realizing like with the case study and how that like you're doing the entire design process, and that to me was a big part of it was instead of just like what I had experienced in the past or what you get by just like Googling things is you get like, here's this one idea, and here's this one idea, and here's this one idea. And it's like, that's great. But the way that the case study worked and how you laid everything out was I got to see how A leads to B, leads to C, leads to D. D didn't work. You have to go back to B, but then that makes C better. And then you can keep going. Like that to me was like such a big part. And that's why it took longer. That's why I was like, oh, okay, I need to slow down. Like this is an opportunity to really sink my teeth into building these skills and understanding what the design process is, where my strengths are and where my weaknesses are, um, and like where my interest lies. And yeah, I mean, it was a big project. And by the end, so I kind of like started really fast, realized, okay, I'm going to take this kind of slow and steady to really ingrain what I'm learning. And then towards the end, when I got to kind of the actual designing of the app, I went like gung ho, and it was almost like a full-time job. And I was like, okay, this is like really exhilarating and exciting. And yeah, it was intense, but so worth it. I learned so much. I feel like I'm leaving the course not only with like very practical skills, but I think one of the biggest things I took away from this course is like I'm asking so much better questions. And again, it's just like kind of that guidepost of like strip away a lot of the chaos and just focus. And it will all be there. All the things that I have yet to learn will still be there when I'm ready for them. But now I have this like foundation laid. And that's why like getting into this job that I have now, it's like, oh, it's still new. Like this is still so brand new to me. And I feel that. But I feel because like I took 3 months to research. Like that's what blew my mind was I thought we were going to just
Design.
design. But 3 months of research and at first I was confused. And then by the time I got to design, I was like, oh, that makes sense why it took so long to get through that process. And I was so grateful for it. And now that I'm in this role where everything's new and I'm learning new skills, I get to fall back on like, okay, I know how to research things. I've learned how to ask better questions. I kind of know what my teammates are doing, even though, I've only done this one case study, but I'm like, oh, this is what I did when, I was doing surveys and everything. So
I'm really happy you said that. So like, I know a lot of people start off wanting to do design and they'll go on YouTube and they'll just see lessons in Figma. And it's like, okay, but what goes on the page? What do you want to measure? What do you want it to do? Who are you designing it for? That's kind of like real stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, so you won't be scared when Figma changes to another tool in the future because that's just the top level layer. I'm really happy. How did you find the community as well? Because I think that's one of the coolest things about the course.
Yeah, so thankfully I was pretty comfortable in Discord. And so it was really easy for me to jump in and really inspiring to kind of just see people who are just ahead of me. That definitely helps with motivation to be like, oh, that looks fun. I can't wait till I get there. And then, be diligent to make sure to get there. And then also, because I stayed in the community and I stayed engaged the whole 6 months, 5-6 months, I got to help people who were just like behind me and like take their surveys and give feedback. And I feel like that is a big part of design as well, as like the art of giving feedback and
totally.
that like helps reinforce my decisions. Like if I'm giving feedback about this, it's going to help me in my next design or my next decision. So I feel like the community in general was like really active and really engaging. And I love that you're always, as you say, applying Kaizen and iterating and always building that channel because when I started it, you hadn't added this channel, but maybe midway through you added like the accountability partner channel. And I connected with someone and we were tight. Like we held each other accountable. We helped each other through homework. We just messaged earlier this week, just reconnecting. And so I feel like having that other person, that other student, I got to know a couple of the students who were like kind of keeping pace. Like we were keeping pace with each other, but having that like accountability partner helped so much. And having it not be this whole big thing, but just like, oh, it's just a text message on Discord. I do that all the time. So I think having it on Discord in particular made it super accessible. It didn't feel formal. It just felt like it was a supplement and an encouragement and inspiration.
I'm really happy that you mentioned the accountability partner because it's not something that's like, you don't need to do it in the course, but it's like a nice to have if you want to talk to someone and send each other whatever you want. That's that I'm really happy that you connected with someone. What I want to find out is, so once you did the course, your case study is fantastic, by the way. What were your steps to then land in a role? How did you go about doing that with the company?
So I was hired by the company that I've been at, and I know that's not going to be everyone's situation, but I also encourage you is like just try. Like if you're at a company that has these kinds of roles, or even if they don't and you think they need them, like I think it is about like finding that opportunity. And I do feel like I was in a unique position because like the company that I have doesn't have like a natural path to make the jump from support to design like I did. But they, I reached out and I was like, hey, this is what I'm interested in, and this is what I'm doing. I'm taking this course. Here are the other things that I'm trying to do. And I did do more than CourseCareers. Like I supplemented on the side. I did like personal projects and anything at my current job on the support team that I could do in Figma or FigJam, I did it because I was like, I do need to learn these tools. And so I, again, like after I started the course, I was just super vocal at my company, and they ended up letting me split my time 50-50, kind of like an internship thing. And so like during the course, I was already connecting with the marketing department, kind of helping them with like one-off design jobs and things like that. So I was starting to get my foot in the door. And then that internship ended, I graduated, and then it kind of was like, okay, can we make this official? And so I did go through the graduate portal, but I think the timing was like I didn't have to like go full-fledged into that yet. In order to get this job, it was a lot of like networking where I was at. And I had a little bit of like an existential crisis of like, is that good? Does that count? It's like, should I be, doing all of these other things? And, I really was like, no, this is what I want to do. I love the company that I work for. And they might not have a need for a designer right now, and that's okay. But like, I was glad that they did. So
that's very similar how I got started. So I say the story during the courses. I started with internships, and I think you've really got to look after yourself. If you wanted something, then you can apply for a job, but there might be 100 people. But if you can go and intern somewhere, or the company you work for, or in the door, they get to know your personality. And then I guess when you transitioned over, did you show the design director the stuff that you've been working on?
Not the design director himself, but the marketing department, like my future manager and all of that. I shared like my case study and the final exam and everything.
How did that go down?
Good. It was pretty quiet, so I don't really know how that whole process went.
Got the job.
But I got that. You're right. No, but it was, and like I think that's the biggest thing was kind of just going out on a limb to see an opportunity that wasn't necessarily there. Like I had to kind of ask for it, and just like and be content with like. There's a lot of like shiny object syndrome, I think, and I was in a good place. Like I worked at a company that I liked and wanted to stay at and everything. So, but what I will say is like something that I am excited about is kind of like getting a teaser about how the graduate portal is set up is, even though I've like landed this job, like there are skills that I want to still develop. There, like side projects that I want to do. And so I definitely feel like what I have ahead of me is like continually developing my portfolio and getting it to like a good place. And I definitely see the graduate portal helping me kind of get my bearings around that whole thing.
That's great. I mean, you can stay on the Discord as well. Like, touch with everyone. That's exactly what it's for. So going on to the last questions then. So I've got, what did you find most valuable about going through the course? Was there anything that really stood out to you, or was it just, did you enjoy the whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, the case study and the thoroughness of it, just I haven't seen anything kind of like it. I even like equated it to like my bachelor's degree, and I was like, imagine if college was set up this way. Like people would be graduating with businesses, with apps, it's just like so comprehensive and in a way that is just like so tangible. And it like builds off of each other. I just haven't seen that in a course in all my education over the past 10 years, design or not. So it's like just the setup itself is so great. One thing that I will say that stood out to me about your like teaching in particular that I haven't seen elsewhere as well is just like a lot of other courses kind of, and not to say that you didn't do this, but a lot of courses are like, let me chat about what it's like to be a designer. And it's like one video, and they kind of give this like overview about like, this is the day in the life or whatever. But like you in your videos would like cut in and say like, I'm recording this at 6 a.m. because I have a full-time job and I'm building this course. And I like those little moments of vulnerability that you had and like you sharing your story kind of very naturally along the way. Like that's what kept me going. And that I think spoke to me so much more of like, okay, this is what it's like. Not the whole 6 a.m. thing in particular, but just like those little bits that you inserted of like working with people or like managing projects. And so, you know, I just really appreciate your vulnerability and sharing and the insights that you drop in. Like it definitely felt like it's weird talking to you now because I like you're interacting with me. You're not just on the video. And I watched a video of yours every day for 6 months. So you were very much like ingrained in my life. And now you're here, and it was just so personable. And I think that's something that a lot of, there's probably other courses out there, but I mean, there's just so much wrapped up in this like CourseCareers UX UI course that
it's just
makes so much value.
Realistic, isn't it? I guess that was my thing. It's like because I got a lot of the stuff I watch online. It's like, oh, this perfect world, the day in the life of going to this lovely building. It's like in reality, it's like, you're 90% of it is interacting with people and having good skills and getting up early and putting in work. And you might have kids and you got to, you got to do real stuff. I guess I just wanted to be realistic in it.
Yeah, no, and that spoke to me so much, and I was like, okay, I can trust you.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's like, it's not quick. It's not easy. It's a lot of hard work. And I'm not going to pretend like I didn't when I was studying. I didn't get up at 6 and do 2 hours work because that's when I could fit it in. And that's the reality of a lot of students on the course. They've got full time. It's like you'll have an hour of a night to do it.
No, I mean, I worked full time. I worked 2 jobs during doing this, and I think to me that's like a testament that I was like, and I want to do this. If I'm willing to do this from 10 p.m. to midnight, 4 days a week, this probably means something. So
and you enjoy it as well. I mean, that's
that
gives me a lot of hope. I'm really happy that you found a career that you're happy in. And now you've got this role, it will just grow. You can keep building your portfolio. You can use what you've learned, and from a high level how to start something from a pencil sketch to delivered app, which it's just really fantastic. So the last question I have is, would you recommend CourseCareers to a friend starting on their journey?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I have many times in the past month, for sure.
Well, you've got your link and you'll be able to get $50 back if they sign up. Or a bit more. I think it might be 200. But it's really for me. It's great meeting students who have enjoyed the course, because when you're making videos, like I said before, it's just me in a shed, and then I just live a normal life. So I don't get like you talking to me now. It's interesting me talking to you now, having some feedback from students. But I think you're going to be an inspiration to a lot of people. I think your case study is brilliant, and the fact that you've actually put the work in, as you said, up until midnight, and landed a role that you're happy with. Just thank you for being an inspiration.
Oh yeah, and thank you for everything.